Welcome to another Fantasy Goodfellas video where we talk about the top 24 quarterbacks for week 6. You ready?
Those Fantasy Goodfellas.
Boom, boom, boom. Rolling on the field.
Those Fantasy Goodfellas.
All right, welcome to another video. Let me remind you how this works. This is not our rankings. These are Fantasy Pros rankings. We're just going to talk about them and tell you what you think and then go through and see what we can show you. At number 1, Jayden Daniels versus the Chicago Bears. Jayden Daniels came back and had a stellar game, 231 passing yards, 1 passing TD, 39 rushing yards. Over the season, he's been 13th, 16th, and 17th, so that gives you an idea what you're looking at with him. Number 2, Josh Allen at the Atlanta Falcons. Allen is having a good season. It's just they have a lot of weapons, so if you're a Josh Allen fan or owner, it's going to bode well for you. This is what he's done when it comes to passing yards. He could be passing a little bit more when it comes to touchdowns. This is what it looks like for his touchdowns. All right, number 3, Jalen Hurts at the New York Giants. Remember, these rankings, we're just going to go through a couple because we know some of these are just going to be a no-brainer. So, number 4, Matthew Stafford at the Baltimore Ravens. Number 5, Justin Herbert at Miami Dolphins. Number 6, Caleb Williams at Washington. Now, we know Caleb Williams they had a bye week, so if you want to look to see how he's done on the season, he's only really stood out one game when it comes to passing yards. When it comes to passing TDs, again, nothing to write home about. That week 3 was dominant, but that's not going to happen every time. So if you have some choices to make, if you'd have to look at that defense. We'll have another video where we show you how the matchup rankings look. Number 7, Lamar Jackson versus the Los Angeles Rams. Remember, this is early. This is only Tuesday. Lamar Jackson might not play. And again, this is Fantasy Pros predictions, not ours, but Lamar Jackson could do it. Number 8, Patrick Mahomes versus the Detroit Lions. That could be a shootout. Number 9, Baker Mayfield versus the San Francisco 49ers. This is, sometimes you're surprised about these rankings. So, without looking at the defense, obviously he's putting up some amazing numbers, and why he's ranked so low is surprising. So this is what it looks like for that offense last week, and they can get it done. Number 10, you got Brock Purdy making a comeback at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Number 11, Dak Prescott at the Carolina Panthers. The defense of Carolina Panthers played well, so it'll be interesting. Will he get 4 passing TDs? I doubt it, but 11th is not bad. Now, number 12, you got Jordan Love versus the Cincinnati Bengals. If you're in a 12-team league, that's your top 12. So Jordan Love, he was on a bye, but before he left, 337 passing yards. What did that look like? Well, it was 17, 13, 26, and 6. You don't count the bye week. So he can do well, but we need him to be more like week 4. Now we're getting into the second half. Now here's somebody who's getting hot, Drake May at the New Orleans Saints. Can he continue? At number 14, Bo Nix at the New York Jets. Now I haven't seen much of his games. This is why I like using my stat machine. So here, 242 passing yards. What does that look like through the season? Well, he's week 4, he got over 320, but he's probably averaging much lower, 250. And then if you look at the touchdowns, he can get it into the end zone, but every other week he's getting 3, so maybe this is the week if you follow that graph. Now number 15, Daniel Jones versus the Arizona Cardinals. Daniel Jones, 212 passing yards, 2 passing TDs. That was good for 18th, where we have him ranked now. 15th, he'll probably be right around there. Number 16, Justin Fields versus the Denver Broncos. Here he had 283 passing yards, 2 passing TDs. That was good for 7th. Can he continue? But look at that rushing yards. Get you a couple points in standards. And at number 17, Bryce Young versus the Dallas Cowboys. Now, he did pretty well. The thing I want to point out is look how many different people he's passed it to. If you have the ability to pass it to that many people, you're going to have some breakout games. So I like that. But do I think he's going to beat 17th? Probably not. At 18, Kyler Murray at the Indianapolis Colts. Here, 220 passing yards, 25 rushing yards, 1 rushing TD. Where would he be if it wasn't in that TD? Probably much lower outside of the 24. So pay attention to that. At number 19, Jared Goff at the Kansas City Chiefs. You know, Jared Goff, 3 passing TDs, 258 passing yards. I need to add the interceptions did not help him. So I need to make sure I update the stat machine. But here he goes. He's only surpassed 300 yards once. TDs. He can do 5 TDs. That was his number 1 in week 2. But he can't turn it over. That kills the momentum and kills his stats. At 20, Trevor Lawrence versus the Seattle Seahawks. Here's a team that's kind of warming up. 3 total TDs, and he was ranked 5, but they're 4-1. So maybe take notice if you have Trevor Lawrence. Let's see who they're playing this week. They're playing the Seahawks. You might have a chance. You got to gamble. At 21, Tua Tagovailoa versus the Los Angeles Chargers. That team's heating up. 3 passing TDs. The big question there is, will Wallen get into the end zone? Waller. That looks like what he's doing. 3 passing TDs. That's good. I have Tua and I had Jared Goff. So, these are big decisions with some bye weeks coming up. At 22, Geno Smith versus the Tennessee Titans. I expected more from Geno last week. He only did 228 passing yards, so he's expected to do better. I think he can do better, but let's take a look at that offense. How many people touched the ball? 2, 1, 5, 7 people touched the ball. I like that distribution. At 23, Sam Darnold at the Jacksonville Jaguars. Here he had 341 passing yards. He was good for 2nd. So let's just take a peek here because, he's gotten better. But do I expect him to be 2nd every week? No. So pay attention to that. Jacksonville, they're playing some good defense. So they gave Patrick Mahomes a hard time, about 20 points. So I expect Sam Darnold to be right around where he's at. And at 24, Jackson Dart versus the Philadelphia Eagles. Philadelphia Eagles suffered their first loss. Here's a guy that you can't really game plan. You don't know much about him. You don't know his tendencies. So 202 passing yards, 2 passing TDs. What do you expect from him? Not much, but I think he can beat 24. And that's going to do it for this week's top 24 quarterback rankings for week 6. Don't forget to like and subscribe.